friends, how are you? So as promised, here I am with the Nakshebaazi series, the first video, and today we are going to be looking at the Harappan trade. We will be looking at the Harappan trade. We will try and understand all the levels of trading which was going on. What do I mean? The Harappans, they traded within the Harappan cities and towns and villages. They traded with their neighboring Neolithic, Chalcolithic communities for the raw materials. They traded with the nomads around them. And they also had trading links with other civilization in West Asia, around Persian Gulf, Mesopotamia and all. So today, in this class here, we would just try and have a eagle's eye view at how these people were trading. This is an important aspect. A lot of the times UPSC has asked prelims questions from this area. Having some knowledge here can also come in handy in your mains paper, in your essays, right? So keeping all those aspects in mind, let's focus here for next 15-20 minutes and see how it goes. This is one map which I think I would be focusing upon, right? Looks a very complicated map, I'm sure you would agree, but I will try and make some sense here for us, okay? Let's begin the challenge. Let's start with something simple, okay? This is how the Harappan, remember one thing here please, because we are looking at maps, I would also expect you to have some ideas. This is not an introductory class of Harappan civilization. If you do not know anything about Harappa right now, I would not want you to waste your time here. Because I would be talking about with the assumption that you know something about that, what are seals, what was the public bath, etc. You have some idea, right? So do remember. Okay, all right. So this is the early phase. This is the early phase of Harappan civilization. Okay, remember how it is basically several regional cultures such as Sothi Siswal, Kot Diji, Dam Sadat, Amri Nal. These cultures were present and they had neighbors. This is the mature phase. This is the mature phase of the civilization. Notice the shape. Notice the shape, guys. I think most of us, we do not understand and really appreciate what this shape tells us. See how it is, just skirting through Rajasthan. This is the area of the Harappan civilization, mature phase, right? This is the late phase, or the, this is where localization took place. This is where the decline was seen, if you recall. Here we see that, the urban features, they just are, they lost, right? And certain local cultures, they emerge and they flourish. But the urban elements, they fritter away. They are gone, right? We hear about cemetery etch, and we hear about Rangpur, and we hear of Jhukar in that phase, right? Okay, chaliye, let's proceed. Now, if we look at the trading aspect, try and understand. Harappa had cities, the big cities which were the economic, religious, or political centers. Economic centers will be lying on trade routes. Religious centers would be something which will have, which could be a pilgrimage center, right? Or maybe where the high priest lives. Something like, let's say, in Mesopotamia or Egypt, right? Or it could be the administrative or political center, maybe the capital, right? So these will be the cities, and then there will be the towns, right? The smaller cities, and then finally the villages. And they all had a very interesting interrelationship, right? If you look at it, the towns and the villages, they sent their surplus to the cities as taxes, as tributes. If imagining if it was a religious center then, or purchases, maybe it was being purchased. We really do not know, because at Harappa we do not find evidence of much army or anything, any permanent army. We do not find much evidence of that. Okay, so this is one part of the flow. What is the second part of the flow? The city. In fact, the urban elite, right, at Harappa, they had one massive advantage. And you know what was that? They had this innate ability of procuring rare materials which were not available, in the immediate Indus catchment region. So they could acquire rare elements from outside the Harappan civilization region. They had networks. Not only that, they also had the ability to have those rarities distributed to these faraway towns and villages. Can you believe it? This is why we notice such, far-flung places, Sutkajendor or Shortugai. Why do such border areas, posts or locations exist? Scholars opine that they were trading centers primarily. They were trading outposts primarily. Right? And then they not only got this from these faraway lands, the urban elite, they managed to have it distributed across. This is why we notice uniform weights and measures across Harappan towns and villages. We find so much of presence of silver. We find so much presence of uniform stone tools. You get the point, right? You get the point. So this is most of it, the things which they got. Okay, so from Kolar, they got their gold, right? From Afghanistan, they got tin and some aspects of silver as well. Okay, then jade from Central Asia. For their copper. For their copper, they went to the Khetri mine region. This is where the entire Ganeshwar Jodhpura culture was present, which was still in their, they were in their Chalcolithic stage, or let's say, Neolithic Chalcolithic stage. While the Harappans, because of their trade, they managed to evolve and become urban. Although they are not specifically Bronze Age, if you see. Right? Think about it. They got timber. From river Chenab. Right? They got timber. A lot of lumberjacking operations were undertaken. Right, lumberjacking operations were undertaken, and these huge logs of timber were flown into Chenab, and they were collected at various, places. What for? Think about it. Try and find out the answer. Turquoise, Central Asia. Lapis lazuli from northern Afghanistan, right? So very interesting, very interesting. They had a very intensive exchange network, right? They got their stones from a place called as Sukur. It is in Rohri Hills. It's in Pakistan. From there they got their stones and they made their stone tools, and these stone tools of uniform design were distributed across the Harappan region to their artisans. A lot of silver, right? The silver was a result of all the trade which took place between Harappans and the Mesopotamians. I will talk about it. Just give me a minute. The cities such as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Lothal were important centers for metallurgy, right? They produced tools, stone tools. So, you know, from Sukur they will get the stones to Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Lothal, the big cities, and there the tools would be made. Weapons, kitchenware, etc. And they were distributed across the Harappan civilization region. The mode of transport was basically oxes, sheep, donkeys, etc. Camels were also used. We also find the presence of boats and ships. I'm sure you must have noticed this image somewhere in your books, right? Rice and cotton was exported from Lothal in Gujarat. You remember Lothal had that dockyard. So from there, it was exported to other sites in Punjab and Sindh using such boats. Then there were Balakot and Chanhu-Daro. These are in Pakistan, Balakot and Chanhu-Daro. They were important centers of shell working, chudi banana, shell ke necklace banana, all those aspects. The nomads played some important role as well, because nomads had these seasonal cycles of coming and going. And they had far-reaching networks as well. So it is quite possible that Harappans would not go to such far-away places themselves. Rather, they would contact these nomads who were experts in such works. Nomads must have played an important role. Now let's talk about the inter-civilizational trade, where Harappans traded with other Bronze Age civilizations, their contemporaries, other urban centers outside Harappa. Here I am primarily talking about Beta Persian Gulf and Mesopotamia, Tigris-Euphrates region, modern day Iraq. Right, let's have a look at it. See, it might not be very clear in the map to you guys, but I'll just point it out maybe. Yeah. So, Lothal is somewhere here in Gujarat, right? Then we have Sutkajan Dor, Balakot is here, right? These were points. Surkotada is also here in Gujarat, Lothal. These were all coastal cities, and riverine traffic went like this. Riverine traffic went like this. Not riverine, I should say the ocean travel. But remember, one point which I should maybe mention here is, they would not go into deep seas. Abhi utni technology nahi thi, so they were probably just into coastal shipping. Right? And these centers were very important that ways, right till Sutkajan Dor, and from there upwards till Persian Gulf, where in Mesopotamia at this point was present the Sumerians, right? The Sumerians, the Sumerian civilization is often called as. Okay, this is the region. This is Persian Gulf. This is Sumer. Notice these cities. Ur, right? Babylon will become powerful later. Akkad, this region will become very important very soon, right? So these are various, you can probably, understand them as dynasties, right? Okay, anyway, so the point is, there is a lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence of trade between this region and Harappa, right from archaeological evidence till to literary evidence as well. We find a lot of Harappan seals present in Mesopotamia, right? In a lot of Mesopotamian cities. Not only this, there's literary evidence as well. What do I mean by literary evidence? Mesopotamians, they wrote in a very interesting cuneiform script, right? Mesopotamians, they wrote in this cuneiform script. I'll show you probably a sample, yeah, something like this, a cuneiform script, right? They wrote in this, and this script was deciphered, and this script talks about a region and seafaring people who specialized in traveling through seas, of Meluha, people of Meluha, right? Very interesting name, and scholars opine that this is basically the Harappan region. This is the region that we are studying, right? So let's try and understand this aspect a bit more. This is the head bust of King Sargon of Akkad, the region which I showed you, right? So he, in around 2350 BCE, 2350 BCE, देख रहा उसी टाइम के आसपास जब हड़प्पा मैच्योर स्टेट में था. So this fellow, he defeated some Sumerian cities, and we have found his records where he is what should I say, boasting. He's boasting about the prosperity which is present in his kingdom. He's saying that his kingdom is so rich that ships from as far as Ur, Dilman, Makan and Meluha, they come and dock to my ports, bringing all kinds of rarities, right? So this is something which is very interesting. He's saying that lapis lazuli and carnelian are coming from Meluha. This is where I think we should pause and appreciate the ingenuity of Harappans. This is magical, do you realize? They had the knack, they had the entrepreneurial sense of acquiring lapis lazuli and carnelian from faraway regions, and understand that there is a demand somewhere far away, and to manage that distribution. Beautiful, isn't it? Right, so we find a lot of figurines of exotic animals which weren't present there, but are pretty common here in India, such as a monkey, this kind of a parrot, a bird. They must have also been coming from Meluha. We also are being told of a Meluhan settlement. That means a lot of Meluhan traders had settled down in southern part of Sumer. Okay, interesting. In one of the cylindrical inscription, we are also being informed about Shu Ilishu, who is the translator of the Meluhan language. He is the royal interpreter of the Meluhan language. Shu Ilishu. These were probably some of the ways in which the trade routes existed, right? Try and notice the cities first. Notice Ur, right? Then we have this region was probably called as Dilman, right? This is Magan, right? This is Makaran coast. This is called as Makaran coast, Karachi and all, right? A lot of people say Magan could be Makaran as well, right? Okay, now let's have a look at this map. I'm sure it will start making much more sense. There were two main overland routes. One was via northern Afghanistan, northern Iran, Turkmenistan and Mesopotamia. This one, it actually went via this one. And there's a very important city here, which is now in Turkmenistan. It's called as Altin. It has recently shown a lot of evidence of this trade route, right? Isn't it? So from northern Afghanistan, where they had Shortugai, Harappans, they would acquire this lapis lazuli and all, and they would supply it to here, these guys. This was one route. There were other routes as well. The other route was via this city. This is in Iran. Tepe, yahi aap log idhar se hoke aate the bete, from South Afghanistan. Right? There was a sea route as well. See, this is the sea route which I was talking about. This is Makaran. Dilman is Bahrain. Makkan region is probably modern day Oman, UAE, or maybe this coast. This is Altin Dep in Turkmenistan, which I was talking about. See, this is now what they are saying. This was a very important triangle. This was a very important triangle. There's a lot of archaeological evidence of this inter-civilizational trade as well. We have found a lot of Indus dice. Harappan people love to play and gamble. They had so many toys, games. I mean, it's something which I find very fascinating, right? If you look at their toys, so they had very interesting kind of a dice as well. They had a very interesting kind of a dice as well. So Indus dice has been found here, and of course, as I was telling you, a lot of seals as well from these cities, right? These are Harappan seals. Just to probably close the discussion, these are the Harappan seals. I got this photo just to give you an idea that look at this is how they look. This is the size of them, right? Very interesting. And they used all kinds of symbols, which are again very fascinating, isn't it? These seals, they may have had a role in trading as well. Their presence in such large numbers in these faraway cities indicates that they may have very well have these seals and sealings. They may have a role associated with the economy, right? They could be the symbols of merchant houses who would use these seals and sealings to maybe make a mark on their merchandise. That's one theory which seems to be floating around. Again, this is again a very beautiful and fascinating aspect. Dekho bachche, these are uniform weights and measures. These are uniform weights. Harappa ke, right? And whether you go to the largest of cities, such as let's say Rakhi, Gadi or Mohenjo-daro, or you go to the smallest of them like Aladino, even there you will find them, right? Again, which indicates the importance of trade. All right. Thank you so much. This was what I had in mind for the first lecture. All right. Next one, I'll see you there. Bye-bye.